What if the emptiness you've been feeling lately isn't a flaw, but a message? What if the sense that life has gone dull, that the spark you used to have has flickered out, isn't a sign that you've failed, but an invitation to change? Maybe you've noticed it creeping in, slowly, without fanfare. The mornings feel heavier, the days blur together. The things that once made you smile now feel distant, muted, almost foreign. You find yourself scrolling mindlessly, reaching for distractions that barely register. You tell yourself it's just a bad week, a rough month, a passing mood. But deep down, a quieter voice whispers, something deeper is shifting, and ignoring it won't make it go away. If this feels familiar, if these words resonate even a little, then this might be one of the most important messages you'll hear, because what you're experiencing isn't random. It's not a slump you can power through with more hustle. It's not something more dopamine can fix. It's something older, something deeper. Carl Jung called it the dark night of the soul, a moment when the life you've built no longer fits the person you're becoming, when the old joys no longer nourish you and the old patterns no longer sustain you. And though it feels unsettling, though it feels uncomfortable, it is, if you're willing to listen, the doorway to a more authentic life. A crossing, a summons, and perhaps the beginning of everything you've been unknowingly seeking. There comes a point when the world around you begins to lose its color, not in a dramatic collapse, but in a slow, almost imperceptible fade. You wake up and the mornings feel muted, as if someone turned down the volume on your life. The conversations you once enjoyed now feel rehearsed, thin, echoing in a space where connection used to live. The movies, the music, the books that once moved you barely register a flicker inside. The laughter of others feels distant, like watching someone else's life through a glass wall. Even the small pleasures, the taste of food, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your favorite song, feel strangely hollow. You catch yourself going through the motions, working, socializing, fulfilling obligations, all while a quiet numbness sits beneath the surface. And what's perhaps most unsettling is not sadness, not anger, not despair, but an eerie absence of feeling altogether. A flatness, a void. You begin to wonder, is it me? Am I broken? Am I losing something essential? But here's the truth. You are not broken. You are not defective. And you are certainly not alone. This is an experience more common than most will admit, a silent state many endure in isolation, thinking it must be their personal failure. But what you are feeling is not a malfunction. It is, in fact, a message, a signal that something within you is ready to change, to evolve beyond the life that no longer fits who you are becoming. Carl Jung, one of the founding figures of modern psychology, had a name for what you're feeling. He called it the dark night of the soul. Not a clinical diagnosis, not a temporary slump, but a profound psychological and spiritual initiation. It's a threshold moment, a quiet breaking point where the architecture of your life, your routines, your identities, your ambitions, begins to crack under the weight of something deeper stirring inside you. Jung understood that this stage isn't about sadness or boredom, and it's not something that can be soothed away with quick fixes or temporary pleasures. It's the psyche's way of signaling that the old ways of being, the familiar roles and rewards that once felt sufficient, have become too small to contain the growth demanding to unfold. It's as if the house you've been living in, safe, familiar, comfortable, has suddenly become a prison, its walls closing in, not because it changed, but because you have. And ignoring this transformation doesn't silence it. It only deepens the restlessness, magnifies the sense of disconnection, and prolongs the unease. Jung believed that this darkness, this unsettling void, is not a punishment or a failure. It's a summons, a call from the deepest layers of your being, asking you to stop clinging to what you are and start becoming what you are meant to be. And though the process is neither easy nor quick, it is, in the end, the birthplace of a more honest, more expansive, more alive version of yourself. This loss of joy, this creeping numbness, is not a random glitch in your system. It is your deeper self rejecting the old script, the outdated identity you've been carrying, often without question. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming who you truly are, beneath the masks, beyond the roles, outside of the expectations that have shaped you since childhood. At some point, whether through age, experience, or sheer inner necessity, the unconscious begins to push forward, refusing to remain buried. The carefully crafted persona you've presented to the world, perfect student, ideal partner, loyal employee, whatever labels you've worn, no longer satisfies the deeper hunger of your soul. And here's where the tension sharpens. The life you built was never meant to be a cage, but as you grow, it can become one. What used to fit begins to constrict. What once inspired now feels hollow. And this is not a failure on your part. It's a natural stage of psychological growth. The numbness, the disconnection, the flatness, it's the psyche's way of burning away what no longer serves you, not to harm you, but to clear space for something more authentic to emerge. Yet most of us, when faced with this discomfort, resist. We double down on what's familiar. We chase the old pleasures harder, hoping to recapture the spark. But the truth is, you cannot breathe life into an identity your soul has outgrown. To move forward, you must first allow the old layers to fall away. And though that shedding may feel like loss, it is in truth the beginning of liberation. And here's where most of us take a wrong turn. Faced with this growing emptiness, with the slow unraveling of what once gave us meaning, we panic. We reach for distraction. We chase stimulation, hoping to drown out the silence inside. We scroll endlessly through social feeds, hunting for something, anything, that might ignite a flicker of feeling. We binge-watch shows, consume fast content, fill every quiet moment with noise. We buy things we don't need, chasing the brief dopamine rush of a purchase. We swipe through endless profiles, craving validation to momentarily patch the void. We throw ourselves into work, into fitness, into hobbies, desperate to feel productive, relevant, alive. But none of it works. Not really. Because at its core, this isn't a hunger that can be fed with surface pleasures. But avoidance only prolongs the pain. The more we resist this inner call, the louder it becomes. The more we fight to keep life feeling as it once did, the more it slips through our fingers. Because the truth is, this isn't about reclaiming the old spark. It's about making space for it. And for many, that is the hardest step of all. But here's the truth. This numbness you're running from, this unsettling emptiness you keep trying to outrun, it is not your enemy. It is an invitation, a signal from the depths of your psyche that the life you've constructed, the patterns you've relied on, the identities you've worn, have reached their limits. They can no longer contain the fuller, truer self that is longing to emerge, and the more you chase surface stimulation, the further you drift from that deeper truth. What you feel right now is not a malfunction to be fixed, but a threshold to be crossed. It's the psyche's way of urging you to release the old, to make room for what's next. Yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it feels disorienting, but that's because you are in a space between stories. No longer who you once were, not yet fully who you are becoming. And that space, though frightening, is also sacred, because within that silence lies the raw material of transformation. Beneath the numbness is not nothingness, but potential, and the work now is not to escape it, but to honor it, to sit with it, to listen to what your soul is trying to tell you, because your current life, however safe, however familiar, was built to serve an earlier version of you. It protected you once. It gave you purpose once. But now it can no longer contain your growth, and clinging to it will only deepen the ache. The way forward is not through more distraction, but through presence. Through courage, through a willingness to meet yourself fully, even in the fog. Because on the other side of this darkness is not the old spark reignited, but a new light entirely. One that is truer, steadier, and entirely your own. To help us navigate this path today, we can look to a voice that has carried Jung's wisdom into our modern world. James Hollis, a renowned Jungian analyst and author, has spent decades exploring how these timeless insights apply to the complexities of contemporary life. And this distinction is crucial, because happiness, as we often define it, is fleeting, tied to external circumstances, dependent on moments of gratification that rise and fall like waves. Meaning, on the other hand, anchors us. It gives us depth. It offers a sense of coherence even amidst struggle. Hollis reminds us that the feelings we so often interpret as failure, boredom, emptiness, disillusionment, are not defects. They are signals. They are the psyche's way of telling us that we have outgrown the old frameworks, that a deeper part of us is ready to unfold. The sensation that nothing feels fun anymore is not a flaw in your personality. It is an evolutionary impulse. It is your inner life nudging you, sometimes forcefully, to shed outdated identities and step into a more expansive version of yourself. And the tragedy is that so many of us misread this call. We believe we must fix ourselves, return to how we once felt, recapture lost excitement. But as Hollis teaches, the task is not to go backward. It is to go deeper, to listen beneath the surface and ask, what is life asking of me now? What is my soul longing to express? The answers are rarely immediate, and the process is rarely easy. But in choosing to seek meaning rather than chase fleeting happiness, we begin to align with, and in that alignment, the true spark, the one that no distraction can replicate, begins to take root. So where do you begin? How do you move through this space between who you were and who you are becoming? There is no simple answer, no perfect roadmap, because this is not a linear journey. But there are guideposts, 7 pillars you can lean on, not as a cure, but as a compass to help orient you through the fog. First, embrace the stillness. Turn down the noise. Give yourself permission to step away from constant stimulation. Sit with the discomfort instead of fleeing from it. Not forever, but long enough to hear what lives beneath it. The impulse will be to fill every moment, to outrun the silence. Resist that impulse. The answers you seek will not come through more noise. Second, reconnect with curiosity. This is not about forcing yourself to find your passion or chasing some grand purpose. It's about granting yourself the freedom to explore small sparks of tiny threads of interest that pull at you without demand or expectation. Read something unusual. Take a different route on your walk. Try a new skill, badly. Allow curiosity to lead you, without the burden of being good at it. Third, engage in active reflection. This is not the same as rumination. It's about creating space for honest dialogue with yourself. Journal, walk in solitude, sit with a trusted therapist or mentor, and when the feelings arise, instead of asking, "How do I stop this?" ask, "What is this feeling trying to teach me?" Fourth, seek meaning, not happiness. Happiness is a transient state. Meaning provides depth and direction. Ask yourself, what difficult thing am I willing to face because it matters to me? What challenge would I endure, not for fun, but for fulfillment? These are the pursuits that ground us when surface pleasures fade. Fifth, nourish your soul. Move beyond the dopamine-driven habits. Engage in practices that awaken something deeper. Create art, offer service, mentor others, meditate, spend time in nature. These are the experiences that feed the part of you that stimulation alone cannot reach. Sixth, surround yourself with depth. Be intentional about the voices you allow into your life. Seek out books, conversations, and relationships that challenge you to grow, not just comfort you. Spend time with ideas and people who stir your soul, who reflect back your potential, not merely echo your current state. Seventh, release the timeline. There is no deadline for transformation. The soul does not operate on the clock. Healing, growth, becoming, these unfold in their own time, often in ways we cannot predict. Give yourself permission to be in the fog, to not know, to trust that clarity will come when it's ready. And through it all, remember this. The goal is not to rush back to who you once were, but to allow space for who you are becoming to take form. And there is one more thing you must remember as you move through this space. Stop trying to go back. You are not meant to feel exactly as you once did, to revive old joys, to force yourself into the shapes of a former life. That version of you, who found happiness in certain routines, who fit comfortably within certain roles, served its purpose. It brought you to this point. But now, something deeper is being asked of you. The temptation will be strong, to chase the feelings you used to have, to recreate old experiences, to measure your progress against who you used to be. But doing so will only trap you in a cycle of frustration. You are not meant to shrink yourself to fit a past identity. You are being called to expand, to redefine what joy and meaning look like for who you are becoming. Understand this. It is natural that the things which once moved you may no longer resonate. It is not a failure. It is not a loss. It is growth. And as you evolve, so too must your definition of fulfillment. What enlivens you now may look different, quieter, deeper, less about surface excitement, and more about alignment with your true self. This is the paradox of transformation. It often feels like emptiness, yet it is the fertile ground from which new life emerges. The goal is not to ask, how can I feel as I once did, but to inquire, what new dimensions of life am I now ready to explore? Because the person you are becoming will not be sustained by the pleasures of your past. They will be fueled by new sources of meaning, ones that align with the deeper truths now rising within you. Trust this process. Trust yourself. You are not regressing, you are evolving. Now tell me, have you felt this shift within yourself lately? Have you noticed the old joys fading, the familiar patterns losing their grip, the quiet pull towards something deeper? If so, know this. You are not alone, and you are not failing. Quite the opposite. You are being initiated. You are standing at the threshold of a more authentic life. And though this path is not easy, though it often feels uncertain, it is worth walking. So I invite you, share your experience in the comments. What is your soul asking of you right now? What old identities are you being called to release? What new forms of meaning are beginning to emerge? Your words might resonate with someone else standing in this same in-between space. Because here's the truth. The world does not need more distracted, numbed-out individuals chasing empty stimulation. It needs more awakened souls. People who have faced their darkness, who have honored their inner call, and who are learning to live from a place of depth. And if you are here, watching this far, that awakening may already be underway within you. Trust it, honor it, and remember, this is not a collapse. It is a crossing. And on the other side of this crossing is not the old version of you trying to feel better. It is the truer version of you, living more deeply, more fully, more aligned with who you were always meant to be. The real journey begins now.